Imagine a land where survival means braving one of the harshest climates on Earth, where life is a constant battle against nature's fury, and where community and resilience are the keys to existence. Welcome to Greenland, a place that redefines what it means to live on the edge of the world. Before we dive into the incredible story of Greenland, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an adventure like this. There are many details that make life meaningful and enjoyable. Almost all people admire a certain beauty in life and have a purpose in it. Some people have a person-centered view of life. For them, it is family and spirituality that make life perfect. Without family and sacred values, life is a complete void and life is completely meaningless. However, the people living in Greenland are struggling with some of the most difficult living conditions in the world and clinging to life. So much so that it is the coldest center of northern life in the world. A separate planet full of hardships that can wear one down with life and make you grateful for the geography in which you find yourself. This is Greenland, the largest island in the world whose name you have heard before. Greenland is a giant ice-covered island located at the edge of the world with an area of 2,166,000 square kilometers. The soil of this gigantic country is largely unfavorable. Over 80% of the land is covered in ice, and it is so cold that it freezes the blood of the people living there. Greenland is located in the north of the Atlantic Ocean and is not actually a completely independent country. The country is autonomous and depends on the Kingdom of Denmark. So much so that Greenlanders bear great traces of Danish culture. The capital and largest city of the country is a settlement called Nuuk. The population of the capital is only about 20,000 people. Across Greenland, about 60,000 people are trying to survive. But how did these people come to this ice-covered island with no connection to the mainland? About 1,200 years ago, Norwegian and Icelandic sailors discovered Greenland. Until then, Greenland had never been known to Europeans. They were convinced that although it was very cold there, it was a place where they could take shelter if necessary, and at the same time become a trading post. Then many people moved to Greenland, thanks to Norwegian and Danish sailors. Even at this time, the population of Greenland reached 2,000 people. Trading colonies were then established, and the Scandinavians tried to develop trade and agriculture, but were not successful in the long run. Contrary to popular belief, cold weather was not the main reason why life in Greenland did not become sustainable, and therefore, the population did not increase. The animals brought to Greenland by the Vikings died one by one due to drought. The soil structure in Greenland was so infertile that no matter what farmers did, they could not grow productive grasses and trees. The drought made agriculture impossible, forcing Scandinavians to migrate from Greenland. Only a few of them remained in Greenland to trade. What makes the origins of life in Greenland so fascinating is that the ancient Mongols, the Inuit, traveled to Greenland thousands of years ago during the Ice Age and settled there. They did not discover this land until much later, like the Nordic sailors. There was a land connection with Greenland in ancient times when it did not yet have a name, and the ancient Mongols chose to live on this land at that time. The minimum number of people living in this Greenland is not the number of Scandinavians who came here for trade hundreds of years ago, nor are they the descendants of Inuit from thousands of years ago. The Scandinavians came to this land in the summer and realized that at that time it was mostly green, so they named it Greenland, the Green Country. Today, it is still called by the same name by foreigners. In the 20th century, Greenlandic society also gained the privilege of the European Union, but the country wanted to leave the European Union in 1981 by popular vote. This happened because the European Union restricted Greenland from fishing, which is the main source of income for Greenlanders and which they export around the world. It interfered with Greenland's fish reserves, and the fact that the country held 35% of the world's uranium and iron reserves whetted the European Union's appetite. In a sense, European Union countries would continue to exploit Greenland through membership, which is why Greenland decided to leave membership and go its own way. Today, Greenland still answers to Denmark, but it makes most large-scale decisions on its own, and it seems impossible for it to survive without Denmark. Denmark spends nearly $1 billion a year to continue life in Greenland. Because Greenland is owned by Denmark, and the whole world recognizes it. Even in recent years, the President of the United States has not approved the sale of natives. The island of Greenland is put on the agenda from time to time by China, Russia, and America. Because there are tons of uranium and iron under the island waiting to be mined, not to mention that they have the world's largest fish reserves. Currently, if a person living in Greenland wants to use education or health services in Denmark, the Danish state covers all costs. Furthermore, it is not possible to purchase land in Greenland. That is, a person cannot buy land in Greenland. If he wants to build a house or a shop in a certain area, he can get permission from the state and use the area for his own life by paying tax. Therefore, there is no chance of owning land in Greenland. Most of the houses built in the regional capital of Nuuk are state-supported structures, and most of them are colorful. These homes are available for purchase with prices averaging around $350,000. On the other hand, Greenland is a rock as hard as frozen ice, and undoubtedly not everyone will like it. But if you give this country a chance, you will realize that there are huge details to discover. For example, you can see that even in an icy land, the greenery comes alive, or that the air in the sky is not produced by car exhaust and factory fumes, but by a clean environment with plenty of oxygen. Most importantly, people are always smiling and strangely happy. They have a world full of polar bears, seals, and whales. Almost everyone knows each other, and no one is hostile. They are not politically obsessed or hostile to nature. They love people and support each other. Both Eskimos and Scandinavians are the true owners of this land and are united in Greenland. Therefore, there are no signs of evil here. Being a family is the most important element of survival. No one lives alone in Greenland because life there is impossible, and to survive, people must keep their families together. Because as human beings, they have one great goal: to fight the cold and survive. Their only great fear is that the glaciers around their land will melt and disappear. Indeed, Greenland lives at the mercy of nature, so much so that the melting of glaciers first brings about their end and then prepares for ours. Rising global water levels will undoubtedly trigger apocalyptic scenarios for lands on land. Moreover, it's not like they don't experience disasters from time to time. A sudden tsunami from the sea could wipe out sailors' boats in Greenland. They must understand the language of nature, keep their eyes open, and be alert at all times. At the slightest gap, they could be dragged into the icy sea along with their boats. Because the ocean is no joke. Even the capital of Nuuk is extremely inadequate in terms of healthcare system and transportation, in terms of life pleasures. And what's worse is that you have no chance of getting a service that you cannot reach within the country from another country in a short time. Because you live on an island isolated from billions of people around the world. When you go there, you feel like you found a settlement on the moon, like a newly discovered planet with no connection to Earth. For this reason, Greenland is a country where many facilities are insufficient and access is very low. Another problem in this country is the problem of marriage. Because the population is very small, people in Greenland cannot find a mate. People who cannot find a partner ask the region administrator to find a partner for them. Even if a married person's spouse dies, he or she is expected to marry someone else and have children to prevent further population decline. In some families, a woman may have as many as 3 or 4 husbands. People feel obliged to do this because they want to reproduce and survive. Because the fewer there are, the more difficult life is for the survivors. Another problem for Greenland is that because the country has no infrastructure system, landfills have been created in remote areas of the country where all human waste is collected. In the short term, it is difficult to turn Greenland into a landfill. But in the long term, Greenland may experience large accumulations of garbage. Most parts of the country have no internet service at all. The capital has an internet line, but the cost is 1,300 Danish kroner. Moreover, the internet speed is very slow. So what type of transportation do people living on the coldest island in the world have? If you go to Greenland, you will see that motorcycles and cars are not very common there. There are only a few visible vehicles in the capital. In rural areas, transportation is done by sleigh. Especially during the winter months, the weather can drop to as low as 50 degrees. And in such weather conditions, motor vehicles cannot run and break down. Since the industry in the country is also primitive, repairing these vehicles requires a lot of effort and causes financial loss to people. For this reason, people use Siberian wolves called huskies to transport their goods or get from one place to another. They tie the huskies to the sleigh and use it for transportation. If someone from the village needs to be taken to hospital, they must request a helicopter. Moreover, if a village has 4,000 people, it has more than 3,000 wolves. People use these wolves not only for transport, but also to track animals they want to hunt. Because wolves are fed raw meat, they are extremely aggressive and not very friendly to anyone other than their owners. If you leave them hungry, they may even join forces and try to eat you. Therefore, in Greenland, there is a mutually beneficial arrangement between wolves and humans. It is a contract of survival rather than mutual love. Apart from technological possibilities, no fruits or vegetables grow in the country. At this point, the biggest thing that keeps humans alive is hunting animals. They go out to sea by boat and hunt polar bears and seals with shotguns. Then they skin these animals and take their meat. This is how they solve their hunger problems and make clothes from their skins to protect themselves from the cold. This may seem wild and inhumane to many of you. Perhaps this is their way of driving animals to extinction. However, no country will feed and care for a person whose home is here for free. So they must survive and hunt on their own. Those who do not have boats try to break through the ice in frozen rivers and fish on their own. If they fail, they will starve. They have to dig under the ice, holding cutting sticks in their hands, which requires muscle strength. When they reach the water, they dip the net they made into the water and wait. In most cases, they achieve their goal and head home. People eat anything that comes out of the sea as long as the brain is there. If we explain the meaning of this sentence with examples, you may come across a seal being eaten at home or a polar bear's head being eaten in a restaurant. In Greenland, people don't even carry gold or money as a wedding gift. People here give polar bear heads to people they consider valuable. Polar bear hunting is difficult and labor-intensive. Its meat is not easily available to almost everyone and is extremely expensive in restaurants. For this reason, polar bears are more valuable than gold in Greenland. If you are a guest at a family's home in Greenland, you may even have whale meat in front of you. It can be said that Greenlanders who eat meat from everything except human flesh always have carving knives in one hand when eating. With this knife, they separate the meat from the bones and swallow it. Mainly Eskimos do it. Scandinavian families live according to the culture they received from Denmark. Greenland has such a large area and appeals to such a small human community that you are happy to see people in the country. There are 6 settlements along with the capital Nuuk, and only 300 people live in one of these settlements. The services these 300 people have access to are only grocery stores and churches. For example, a person with a chronic disease living here is unlikely to survive for long. But how long can this form of life be tolerated? No cars, flowers, insects, telephone coverage, or entertainment centers. There is only an isolated wilderness and a vast sea covered with ice. In winter, sometimes the sun doesn't shine at all, and most of the day is spent in darkness. Some days there are snowstorms, and if you are outside, then you have nowhere to escape. People caught in snowstorms suffer from serious illnesses and may not be able to get out of bed for months. Country Greenland, we would be glad if you like our video and subscribe to the channel. Goodbye. If you found Greenland as fascinating as we do, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories from around the world. See you next time.